What's going on, YouTube? Thanks for tuning into the channel. It's your boy Devin Coates. Welcome to day 2 of the 48 Days of the 48 Laws. Link in the description where you can pick up your copy. It is an affiliate link. I would appreciate it if you did buy it off of my link if you find any value in the videos I'm putting up for the next 48 days, or I guess 46 at this point. I will be putting up one chapter a day review with some discussion questions. But let's just hop into it. So this is day 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies in the judgment. Be wary of friends. They will betray you more quickly, for they are easily aroused by envy. They also become spoiled and tyrannical. But hire a former enemy, and he will be more loyal than a friend because he has more to prove. In fact, you have more to fear from friends than enemies. If you have no enemies, find a way to make them. So this is where we're starting to get a little more controversial, and the book starts to get a little bit better. But I'll just start off with a brief summary of kind of what he goes through. So the first story is about this emperor. I forgot what, I think it was the Byzantine Empire, but basically his name was Michael, and his uncle Bardas basically conspired to put his mom into nunnery, and her husband got killed, and now Michael's the emperor, but he's a young guy, very inexperienced, insecure, and doesn't really know what the fuck to do, basically. His uncle is very intelligent, ambitious, but has the credentials to help him out and advise him. And Michael's looking for somebody to help him out, so he goes and he looks for his friend Basilius, who was actually a peasant. But one time when Michael was at the stables, a horse got loose and almost killed him, and Basilius basically sacrificed himself and saved him. Long story short, Michael gives Basilius everything he wants. He sends him to the greatest school, moves him from a horse trainer to the head of stable. Then after that, gives him like, I think he was like he was the finance guy, and basically gives him all his riches. Basilius has a problem where, from being poor and now seeing this lavish life, all he wants is more, 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 more. Michael feels that he must keep somebody like this happy and satisfied. To keep a friend satisfied is it's a small price to pay, so he keeps paying him. And then he gets to a point where he needs an advisor, and he needs somebody to employ, and he basically his whole court and all the people around him recommend his uncle Bardas, and then he basically goes against their wishes and employs Basilius, his friend. Now, this is the point where it starts to get a little tricky. Basilius keeps wanting more, and then he basically convinces Michael that, yo, your uncle is fucking ambitious as hell. He conspired to overthrow your mom and her man. He can do it again. Be wary. I think this guy needs to be killed. And basically, he pours all this poison into Michael's ear. He agrees with it. Basically, he lets Basilius kill his uncle. Then at a point, Michael spends so much money that he's in financial straits. And then he asks Basilius, he's like, yo, I helped you out a lot. Can you pay some of this back? And then Basilius gives him this look like, what the fuck you talking about, man? I earned this all myself. And Michael at that point realized, like, shit, like, I created a monster. I gave him all this stuff. Now, I'm in a position where I don't have anything. He doesn't want to give anything back. One thing I did leave out is that Bardas was the head of the military. So when Basilius killed him, he asked Michael, can I be the head of the military? So now he becomes the head of the military. Then Michael asks him as the head of the military for some money back, and then he looks at him crazy. Now you can see where this is going. So a few weeks later, after Michael was drinking a bunch, he basically wakes up to his room with Basilius there with his whole army, and Basilius just watches as they stab him to death. And then Basilius crowns himself the new emperor and runs around the street with Michael's head on a pike, celebrating his new come to the throne. So really the breakdown of that was that Michael was just completely blinded by the love of having a friend and keeping a friend happy. And basically, this dude just kind of completely went against him and killed him. Now, the real breakdown is that uh, Basilius, instead of feeling like grateful for everything that was done, he kind of probably felt like he earned it, and that's going to be a common thread that goes up. So I'm going to go to the second story. So that first one was a transgression. The second one is an observance, and this is back in China. And in China, around 200 AD, there was a lot of uh, shakiness, and it was very unstable politically. Like basically, an emperor would come to power, and they kill a weak emperor. New emperor comes to power with his own generals. Then he would kill all the generals of the old empire, and then basically this pattern would keep coming. And then either his own generals, his sons, would go kill him and overthrow him, and then they kill all the generals of the last one. So basically, they would just keep clearing out the old empire, and then inevitably, either a friend or enemy, somebody would be dissatisfied and then come and kill the new emperor. And this would happen every 2 to 3 years. It just was repetitive. And then Sung basically gets into power, and he's like, fuck, like, this is the worst position to be in. I need to stop this cycle. So what he does is that he throws a huge party, and he brings all the old generals in, and he's like, and he's talking to them and different stuff, and they're all fucking scared as hell because they're like, we watched the last general get killed, and he basically said all of his friends leave. I only want to be with the old generals, and then basically he makes a proclamation that he goes, he's like, I want to, he's like, I know that you guys, if given the chance, basically would want to kill me and take my spot. And they're like, nah, man. I'm not about to do that. Like, don't fucking kill me, dog. Like, nah, we're good. We were loyal. We're loyal. He's like, I know that you guys would love to do that. So basically, in exchange for your post and your position, I would like to give you guys a nice house, some nice girls, and some not like a nice place. You could post up far away from the palace, have all the fucking trappings of fucking success. You don't have to live this hard life of being a general in exchange for you giving up your post and giving up your like kind of military ways. And they're like all shocked, like, oh shit, he's about to set us up way nicer than we're set up right now, and all we got to do is give up like fighting and stuff. So they're like, oh word, yeah, we'll do that. And then he turned these enemies into like, now they're like real loyal. They're like, oh shit, so instead of like getting killed, you're gonna post me up in this nice comfy spot. So that's his first move, and he kind of sustains his one part of the dynasty, because China was in these like little factions at this point. And then the next one, King Liu, he's like, he's has a southern rebellion in that same place he's working. So he keeps having to fight this guy, and then eventually he basically beats him, and everybody's like, yo, you gotta lock this dude up. And he's like, nah, I'm gonna invite you over, Liu. Here's some wine. I got my wine. Let's drink it now. King Liu he's been through the same cycle too. He's like, dude, this is a trick. He poisoned my wine. This is the end for me. And he's basically in Emperor Song. He's like, yo, everything's great. Like, I wanna ennobilize you. I think that you're doing great things and stuff. Let's drink to the wine. I'm gonna give you a rank in the imperial court. And then King Liu's like, he's like, I know this wine's poison. I really don't want to drink this wine, man. Do not do this to me. And then Emperor Sung, he's like, come on, man. Like, what are you talking about? And he just takes the wine out of his hand. He's like, he swallows it. He drinks the whole thing. He goes, and then obviously that was a proof that it wasn't poison. So then King Liu was like, all right, man, I'll take the imperial court. And then basically now he has another guy that's willing to work for him and is actually loyal to him, because in the past any other emperor would have killed him. And then the last one is Chen Shu. So there's this other guy. So basically, there's all these people kicking rebellions around. And this guy has committed hundreds of conspiracies to murder Emperor Sung. And he actually gets proof from his inner court that comes, and they provide documentation. They're like, dude, this dude's been writing letters to people trying to get you assassinated. You need to kill this guy, put him in exile. You need to do something, like, or he's about to kill you. So he's like, nah, let me handle it my way. Let me invite this guy over. So he invites the guy over, and then he starts honoring the guy, and he's like, oh, you're doing great. You're doing great. And it's kind of like unbeknownst to Chen Shu that he even knows that there's a real conspiracy. So he sends him home and he gives him these documents. He's like, yo, walk home, but halfway through your journey, open up these papers. So Chen Shu walks home after he's been honored and told all these things, and then he opens up his papers, and then he finds his conspiracy documents to murder him, and he realizes he just spared his life, gave him honors in front of everybody that all knew he was trying to kill him. And then from that point, he had another loyal servant. So that was an observance of the law. And basically, he took, and then the end of the story is he ran the dynasty ran for like 300 years. So it went from every 2 to 3 years, emperor dying, to he created a way to have a 300-year dynasty. So basically, all he did was he took all the natural enemies that everybody killed, and then just left their own friends around who became envious and were like, dude, you don't know what you're doing. And then they took over, or a new faction came in and fought and killed them. He basically took all his enemies, turned them into loyal servants, and basically protected himself and fortified himself with the enemies because he spared them of death. So now they start talking about, now he moves into the keys of power. And the one thing to realize is that that like if you give somebody all this stuff, like as a friend in Michael's case with Basilius, where he's giving him all this stuff, and then you put a friend to a post, it's actually a bit condescending, because you're basically saying, it's not that you're really great that you have this position, it's because I like you. And think about human ego and the way people want to feel about themselves. That's not a good feeling. They want to feel like they've earned it. So they're going to find every way to discount all the gratitude and convince themselves that they've earned all these positions that they're put to. Now, on the flip side, like in the story with Emperor Sung, now when a person believes that they deserve to be killed from the social kind of the social norms of where you're at, that these actions warrant death, and basically you've spared their life because you didn't want to kill them, and you're going against the norms. Now you're going to be infinitely more loyal because you feel like you've been given something where you didn't deserve it, and from then on you're going to want to prove back that like you're going to prove yourself, because you're an established enemy. If you tried to kill somebody and then they honored you and they have way more power than you, can easily kill you, and then they let you free and let you roam around, now that's going to have a way more effect than if you like somebody, you're like, now you can rule this area, and then later you're like, I hooked you up, can you pay me back? I'm like, dude, like I thought you hired me because I was good. So that was kind of one big thing in the keys to power. And then he starts talking about work, and it requires distance. Like when you have a friendship, you're going to be blinded by love. And I think that's really what a lot of this book is about, is that your emotions cloud your judgment. So when you're working and you need to get things done and there's results and things like that, and then in these cases your life is at stake, you don't want to be looking at things subjectively. You want to have an objective view at, is the job getting done and things like that, instead of thinking, this is my friend and I want to help him because he's my friend, and not for the results of like ruling a kingdom, or in normal life, I mean in a job relationship, if it's your friend and you hired him to do a certain job, and he's taking advantage of you showing up late, doing all these other things. Now, like, are you going to give him a clearance? Or if it's regular Joe Schmo and he shows up late to the job 3 times, it's like, dude, you're cut. But if it's your friend, now you got to worry about your friendship to keep intact. And that's a position you don't want to be in. And that's really a huge point. And uh, uh, basically, that's really the most of the keys to power. There was a real cool quote by Voltaire that I liked in there. And he said, Lord, protect me from my friends. I can take care of my enemies. And I think that's like a really cool like thing to kind of keep in your head. And the only reversal to the law, which was very minor, was that uh, Robert Greene kind of was right in that the dirty work is kind of sometimes good for friends in terms of public appearance. So say um, well, he gave an example of like a king, and they want them to do something that they're basically not supposed to do, and then you have a friend do it, and then if it goes to shit or people find out, you just blame it on the friend, and then nobody can believe that you would blame it on your friend, so you get away with it. But you have to know that after you do that, you're not gonna have a friend, which is like that's like one time you would use it, and then also if obviously the friendship understands the boundaries um, of emotions and it keeps those in check. But then on that end, you still need to be very wary and on your heels and on your toes to make sure everything's going around. But I mean, the way you can apply this in real life is the work situation is a great one. Um, but it comes to anything like work, any endeavor, any venture you go on. If you're going in with a friend, you need to make sure that those boundaries are established. Now, if you're doing the same thing with an enemy or somebody that crossed you, they're gonna know that if you slip up for 1 second, like there is no mercy, there's no gratitude on the other side. Like that, if two businesses that were competitors, freaking linked up to do um, a joint collaboration or something like that, it's going to be like you need to pull your weight and I need to pull my weight. And we don't really like each other, but for some reason, joining together in this opportunity is beneficial. So it's like, if you don't pull your weight, I'm quick to pull out and hold you accountable. And it on vice versa. If I don't pull my weight, saying I'm one of the businesses, they're going to be quick to hold me accountable. Now, if you guys are friendships and you guys have been working together for a long time, you can start to kind of look at it like, you know, you'll start making excuses for them because you have a emotional feeling, and then it's blinding your judgment. So that's really what it is. It's like with a friendship, love will blind your judgment to give basically concessions and extra um, gifts and what's the word I'm looking for? Extra just kind of ingratiation that was undeserved and not of true merit. So that's really what that chapter was about. So once again, day 2, 48 days with the 48 laws. You can pick up your copy below. I have in the description, I have a link where you can pick it up on my site. Yes, I know at this point, if you're watching it the day of, my site's a little rough, but the link is right on the top of the screen. Click it. I appreciate it if you did buy the book off my link. I do get a little bit of a perk, and if you found any value in the videos, I mean, I would just appreciate you kind of throwing it back. Thanks a lot for watching. I have 3 discussion questions. They'll get better as we get through some of the laws because then they start to kind of contradict each other. But first one is, do you feel like you put too much trust in friends? The second one is, do you actually feel like it's dangerous to employ enemies? And then number 3 is, do you actually agree with this law? Because this law really goes against a lot of social kind of norms. And it's kind of, if you were to say this out loud all the time, like it would be controversial for a lot of people to kind of take in and absorb. So I just kind of like to see what you think. Hopefully you're reading along because that's how you'll get the most value out of it. So your responses, leave them in the comments, walk around, think about them. But either way, do what you want with them. I'll respond if you throw them down there. I'm sure other people will respond as well. You can get a dialogue going. But until next time, if you like the content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, put some comments below, pick up your book with the link in the description. And until tomorrow, I'll see ya. Peace.